Hello friends, good afternoon. Today I'll be talking about Robert Browning, especially his very famous poem Andrea del Sarto. I think you might have heard about the poem and also about Robert Browning, that he is considered one of the greatest poet of the Victorian age. Now, Robert Browning, in fact, let's have a little bit idea about the background of Browning. He was born in the rural parish of Camberwell in 1812. He went to no public school and to no university. The systematic use of his father's admirable library was probably the most important factor in his early education. While still a mere boy, he read the great Elizabethans and Byron with special delight. Now, he was also offered a nomination to the Lord Rectorship of the University of St. Andrews. Browning's later life was spent chiefly in London, and he fell into his last sleep in December 1889. Now, let's have a little bit idea about Robert Browning as a poet. What kind of a poet he was in the history of English literature. You can say that he was highly original genius right from the beginning. And one of the critics has very beautifully said about Robert Browning that he has many poems in which beauty of style is conjoined with profundity of thought. And in these poems lies the hope of the permanence of his fame. The most marked feature of Browning's poetry is his profound interest in character. So, he was a very, you can say, a poet of the Victorian age who was much into understanding the psyche or the psychology of his characters and how beautifully he presented his characters into all his poetry. Now let's come to Andrea del Sarto. Now we'll discuss about who exactly Andrea del Sarto was, but let's see what is the richness and the beauty of this poem. Now, what had impressed Browning above all about Andrea was the epithet "Pictor sans errore." I think it's a French, it could be a French phrase, and I don't know whether I'll be able to pronounce it correctly, which he found in Vasari and used as a subtitle of his poem, in which Andrea is shown far from faultless. Now, it allowed Robert Browning to introduce one of his favorite themes, that is the moral value of art. So this is what was important for Browning. The painters of the Renaissance aspired beyond painting man as he is, and though in their technique they lacked the perfection of harmony of Greek art, they were greater because of their very imperfection and crudeness. The art is no abstraction, thin, arid, and theocratic. It must be warmed by life. Art, basically, Andrea is a painter, and art has been defined by Robert Browning as something which needs continuation, refinement, continuation, continual improvement, and continued, you can say, a continuation work on its own self. The title and the subtitle of the poem refer to the painter, his social position by birth, and his reputation as an artist. Andrea del Sarto, the son of a tailor, was a great painter of the Florentine school. Browning poem was inspired by a picture of Andrea and his wife Lucrezia hung in the art gallery in Pitti, Paris, Florence. So this is what it talks about, and we know that now obviously Andrea was a painter. Faultless but soulless is the verdict of art critics on Andrea's work. The use of the word faultless is ironical, for no art can be called perfect which does not have spiritual beauty. The true artist is he who has lofty ideals to inspire him. But a man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what's heaven for? These are very beautiful, lovely lines quoted from the text of the poem, and I just prefer that you keep the text in front of you, so you're able to enjoy the poem in a much better way, in a much spiritual way, in a much beautiful way. Inspiration is necessary for great art, and he failed to receive that inspiration because his wife did not return his love. He can paint pictures which are technically perfect but which are soulless and so fail to rise to the heights of great art. He is a twilight artist, having neither the ecstatic brightness of great art nor the unrelieved gloom of failure and despair. His soul lacks failure. His soul lacks inspiration. His work lacks glory. His works lack splendor. And why? Because I think behind every artist, every person, in fact, not only behind every artist, every soul, ingrained quality is love. And where the love is lacking somewhere, then it definitely affects the work, the mindset, the life, and the being of an individual. Drawing Lucrezia's attention to the famous portrait of Virgin Mary, Andrea boldly asserts that his picture is technically faultless. He can paint such a portrait quite easily, as if it were a mere sketch done by the pencil. His technical perfection has always been admired by high-placed dignitaries of the church and the praises of people. Though other painters are far inferior to him in technical skill, their soul is lightened by divine inspiration, but Andrea lacks such inspiration. And you know what is the cause of Andrea lacking such inspiration? Their work dropped groundward, but themselves I know reached many a time a heaven that's shut to. If he had a right type of wife who would have loved him, inspired him and urged him on, he would have achieved great heights in his art. But Lucrezia is not the woman from whom such incentives proceed. She values her husband's art for what brings her money. Referring to the painting of the famous Renaissance artist Raphael, says that though his paintings is technically wrong, he poured his soul into his pictures. He was an inspired artist, inspired by popes and kings, and hence he had divine visions. Andrea derives his hope from the fact that his merit has not been recognized in this world and he has not been properly rewarded. The 1 year that he passed in the company of the French king inspired him like Raphael, and Andrea once overheard the remark of Michelangelo to Raphael one day when he was painting in Rome to decorate the palace. Angelo mentioned about Andrea as a poor, worthless fellow going about the streets of Rome. If he were inspired and encouraged by popes and kings as Raphael had been, he would bring sweat to his face. Andrea considers himself inferior to Raphael where spiritual beauty is also concerned. He says he has no regrets of the past, but only being guilty of his crimes, as he has misappropriated the money of French king, tempted by his wife to build a palace for him. He also allowed his parents to die in poverty. If it's just possible that God may desire the 4 walls of the holy city Jerusalem to be decorated with pictures, you will find that in heaven there are 4 great painters, and he mentioned those 4 great painters. And who are the 4 great painters he mentions about? It's Leonardo, Angelo, Raphael, and of course Andrea Manes too comes in it. He would thus be able to demonstrate his superiority above all, but the very moment he realizes that the other have no wives while he still have Lucrezia, they would be able to defeat him in heaven too, but even then he will choose her. Andrea lacks strength and loftiness of purpose and is painfully conscious of his deficiencies. So this poem is typical of Browning's work and of course his art, because he says to Joseph Milsand that I am writing a first step towards popularity for me, lyrics with more music and painting than before, so as to get people to hear and see. So here Browning explores Andrea's personality in some depth, basing his characterization on Vasari's statement that Andrea displayed no great elevation of mind in the actions of his life and contented himself with little. So he was wanting his wife's love more than the popularity that he could get even in heaven. So I personally feel that Andrea del Sarto is among the best and the most popular dramatic monologues and psychological studies that Browning could ever write. Thank you so much.